On tonight's show, ladies and gentlemen, we finally get a release date for Starfield. Oh yeah, there's a shed load of games coming from Nacon. We've got loads of juice on the old Activision Blizzard deal, including the real reason from the head of Sony why Sony are doing their best to stymie the Activision Blizzard deal. All this and much, much more, of course, in your favourite. Yeah, it's the Xbox Monday Night Chat. Roll the titles. Yokoso. Arigato gozaimasu. Yes, welcome to the one, the only Xbox Monday Night Chat. I am so glad you are here. We have a lot to go through. There is quite a lot of kind of bits and bobs and news, and we're going to be deep diving into it as ever. We're going to be bathing ourselves in the Xbox news and all of that. And as ever, it is the Xbox Monday Night Chat, and it requires your contribution, as it were. You are the chat, I am the show. It's interactive, especially if you're watching this live. So, you know, get involved. And you can start off with, ladies and gentlemen, you can start off with by letting me know what games you've been playing on whatever platform, what games you've been playing this week, what's been taking up your time and all of that. Put it down in the chat, which is over there. That's right. That's where the chat is. Put it in the chat. Let me know. I am always interested to see what people have been up to, what have they been playing, and all of that. And as ever, please, please, please do me the great honor. Hit those likes because I like it. YouTube likes it. And it helps bright, intelligent, intuitive, intellectual people just like you find content like this, because there are people just like you that don't know this content exists. And do you know what? That is a damn shame, sirs and madams. A damn shame. Yeah? So, yeah, you know, hit the likes. Let's get it out there. It helps the algorithm. And, of course, if you are new here, arigato gozaimasu, hit that subscribe button, toggle that notification bell, and that way, yeah, you know, you guessed it. You'll know when I go live with content like this, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful, wonderful content like this. I'm so glad you're all here. It's always lovely to see everybody. Before we get on the games and everything, why don't we just see who's in the chat, like from the get-go? Yeah? If I've got everything working. Yep, there we go. Sednar is in the house. Hello, Sednar. How are you? Good to see you, sir. Calm's here as well. Evening. Xbox already on GFN, kinda. EA Play app via Game Pass Ultimate. Yeah, although there's not a lot of EA games on GeForce Now. This is a weird not weird selection. There's some interesting selections, some interesting titles. Finished Elden Ring. Now, said, no, you've been reporting that you've been playing this for weeks, I seem to recall. So that's great. We'll go back again, but I'm going on to Resident Evil Village. Wowza. I did enjoy my time. Yeah, no, I did enjoy my time. Freaked me out, of course. Of course it freaked me out. It's a freaking freaky game. Resident Evil Village, so good for you. Battlefield 2042 before is looking great. Excellent. They've had some new content, haven't they, added? New maps and stuff. We were reporting on that, weren't we? Suarez is in the house. Evening all. 1st of June, hopefully. What's that in terms of Starfield? Oh, God, Gandara, tell me, Wolong. I don't know how long I need to give Wolong. It is tough. I'm still at that first big boss. And I've got so close, but like, how long do you spend doing it? How much of your time you just sort of spend to get over that edge. And it's the first boss. Apparently they're not all quite as bad as that. But anyway, I'd love to find out. Jay Smith, Hill. I think you mean hello. Hello, Jay Smith. Call of the Sea. Yes, indeed, sir. Halo. Trying to finish before Thursday, of course. You don't have to finish by Thursday, but if you get as much into the game as possible, that's always going to be good. Struggle Boxing's in the house. Good to see you. What's up, Clive? Yeah, it's good. It is all good here. Yeah, so on the course, those that watch the GeForce Now Thursday chat, we're having a sort of book club, video game club. And the game of the week is Call of the Sea because it's free on Epic Games Store. So that is a game I've been playing. I've played the first chapter. Yeah, it's all right. It's a puzzle game. I like its aesthetic style, its drawing style. I'm intrigued. I didn't trust myself. I sort of knew there was a sort of solution and I kind of knew it, but because I was streaming live, I was sort of rushing it. I didn't back myself on it really, and I looked it up in the end, but I was right. My theory was right. I just didn't back myself on it. So I sort of felt I let myself down a little bit there. But I shall be playing more Call of Duty. Oh my God. I haven't been playing Call of Duty recently. I've been distracted by Wolong. So I've been playing Wolong and, frustratingly. But yes, Call of the Sea, that's what we've been adding and stuff. Just got to add EA Play games to your library on PC and GFN picks them up like Ubisoft. Very good. Jay Smith says Atomic Heart. Now, apparently, I haven't put this in the news, but we'll talk about it now. Mundfish, the developer, have revealed that they are very much thinking of Atomic Heart 2 already in an interview, apparently. So yeah, I need to go back to Atomic Heart. Why am I not playing Atomic Heart? Is there a reason? Am I stuck on a level? Is it those damn... No, I think I started the level again on the one... that level I was explaining where I needed the sort of orbs to open the door, and there was sort of... It bugged out on my level and I couldn't reset it. I went back a level and did it again. I think I was all right there. So I'm in another place. Maybe I'll play some of that after the show. Who knows? Anyway, there you go. That's the early bird chat, ladies and gentlemen. As ever, always good to see. Do you like my new little logo there? Mucking about, trying a few things. That's not the news. So the big news, I guess, of the week, ladies and gentlemen. Starfield gets a release date, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll check out the old Bethesda Starfield will now be released on September the 6th. Because of the way the date's written, I assumed it was June the 11th. It's the American dates, of course. But it's September the 6th. Sorry, 9th of June is what I thought it meant. And they're having a special event on June the 11th. That's what was in my head. On June the 11th, to cover more of the upcoming games. So remember, they promised, because of the last sort of showcase that sort of Xbox did, where they shadow dropped Hi-Fi Rush, they very clearly said they wouldn't be talking about Starfield because that would be having its own little event, and that is now confirmed for June the 11th, ladies and gentlemen. Shall we have a little look at the old trailer?
This is Constellation Star Station LO868. Welcome aboard. The eyes showing
Bethesda.
signs of one of those big anomalies. Maybe you catch a smile and uncover the source of it all.
That's where I got confused. I went, oh, 9th of June. How exciting. Because that's how we write the dates in the UK. 6th of September.
Hey everyone, from myself and everybody here at Bethesda,
Todd the man there.
We are so excited to finally tell you when Starfield is coming out this year. You know, we have poured ourselves into this game, and even I'm surprised how much we can pour. It is large. We're playing the game all the time. Shout out over here to lead producer Tim Lamb.
You ran quite fast in that.
Old school fans, you may remember him from
It's in the back. If you see in the background,
video where he's sitting on a similar
character was running quite fast, which is always a good thing.
But also, this June, we're going to bring you into the studio and give you a deep dive in the game at our Starfield Direct. There's so much.
So there we go. Starfield Direct, June the 11th.
The game has many of the hallmarks that you'd expect from us.
There, look, he was moving quite fast. That's good.
Unique experience. And again, thank you all for all your excitement about the game, your support, your comments. We really do read it all. And look, we know you've
they're on
waited
Discord.
a long
Check
time
that out.
to play something new from us.
Just as everyone goes back to
Believe it or
school.
not, we're kind of the same.
Well, great. Yeah, send the kids back to school, and then us adults can jump onto Starfield.
To play it. So thanks, and we'll see you soon.
So there we go. There's all the details, ladies and gentlemen. So September launch date. Let's hope it's the final. Let's hope there's no more move. I think it's fairly concrete now, especially considering they're gearing up for the event scheduled on June the 11th. And let me know what you think. I mean, it's looking all right. I mean, obviously they're going to show us the best bits, but in the background, because they know that we've all got eagle eyes. So we'll be seeing what's going on in the background, but it's looking interesting. I hope it delivers, as they say. I hope it delivers on the hype. I think the word is. Talking of new games and releases coming up, Nacon had a Connect, and they've got some interesting games, and I'd be interested to hear from you which of these titles are of interest to you. What am I talking about? Here we are. So Nacon Connect, they do controllers actually. So this was last week on Thursday. Nacon Connect 2023 treated us to a bunch of Xbox announcements for some brand new games, as well as some previously confirmed titles. So basically, you've got I was thinking Rogue. I had Rogue in the head. RoboCop Rogue City coming out in September. Tour de France 2023. Gangs of Sherwood Fall. War Hospital. Ad Infinitum. Rugby 24. The TT Isle of Man Ride of Edge 3. The Lord of the Rings Gollum Tiebreak official game of the ATP WTA, and Ravens Watch 2024. So two games jumped out at me on this one. One I was pleasantly surprised at. Now the first one, anybody who watches my shows regularly will know that I've talked about RoboCop, the movie. Before we roll that, so I've talked about RoboCop the movie for various reasons, maybe in regards to this, and my thesis for my degree, I did a degree in film and drama, but my thesis was actually RoboCop was a heavy part of that thesis. So it's close to my heart, the original film, Paul Verhoeven film, with Pete Weller and all that kind of stuff. So I was pleasantly surprised at this version of the game, and I'll tell you a little bit. I'll tell you why a little bit afterwards. But check it out. Let me know what your thoughts are. Are you familiar with the original RoboCop? About 1986, I want to say. That's when I was at college, when I first went to see it.
You came to clean up this city, didn't you?
But let me know
Believe me.
down in the chat and all of that. Colm saying RoboCop and rugby my top two. We might have to check out the rugby one a little bit later.
All right. All of the arcade staff will sell to you.
Drugs in the basement. I will take care of that. Open the door. I have the warrant.
Oopsie. I think I dropped my keys.
Not going to go down well, is it? So let me know what you've noticed about it. If you are familiar with the RoboCop and familiar with the remake, what stands out about this particular adaptation, as it were? Bit of the old slow motion effect for, you know, getting some help with the targeting. Ooh, blimey. Made mincemeat of him. So there we go. Coming out in September, ladies and gentlemen. So the key thing there is it's very much based on the original 1986, as I said, I want to say 86, 85, 86 film. In the design of the RoboCop, and B, its sort of look to a certain degree, but it's got the voice of Pete Weller in it. And of course, Pete Weller was the actor who originally played RoboCop. Now, he sounds a little bit different because he's significantly older. I don't want to... I daren't think how many years ago it was. 30 odd years ago. Yeah, more than 30 years ago. Unbelievable, isn't it? It makes you feel old. Well, it certainly makes me feel old. But yeah, the original actor is doing the voice. And they're using Pete Weller's original sort of face as well for the character. So it's very much the spirit of the first and original and arguably, without a shadow of a doubt, best RoboCop, original RoboCop film there with Pete Weller and all of that. So there we go. Sednar saying, I loved RoboCop and this looks great. The first VHS tape I rented, I also dressed as RoboCop as a tag rugby celebration. Awesome. Hey, Jonathan, how are you? Good to see you. I'd buy that for $1. Exactly. I hope that's in it. That's got to be in it. I'd buy that for $1. Jonathan says, I watched RoboCop as a kid and scared the living daylights out of me. I remember going to see this with a friend, and I don't think I had any knowledge of it. I was studying theatre studies at the time. So I was doing my A-levels. So before you go to university, basically. And I was studying theatre. And I think I had an afternoon off, or probably bunked off. I don't know. I was with my mate. And I thought, oh, this looks interesting. Let's just go and see it. And because I had no expectations, I was blown away. It was probably the most violent thing I'd ever seen. I mean, I was never into video nasties and all that kind of stuff. I used to get VHS and stuff like that. I was blown away by its violence, but equally blown away by the black, dark humor in it. And then I became a little bit, sort of not obsessed with it, but I suddenly started reading up on it in kind of film magazines and stuff like that. And then, yeah, 4 years later, when I was doing my thesis for my degree at university, I referenced it a number of times, and then I had to do as part of my thesis, I had to make a short film as well, and there are references. My sort of main protagonist watches clips from the film, and there's some similar sort of setups and sort of echoes of it anyway. So, but anyway, there you go. I'm not going to give you a lecture on film studies right now, but RoboCop. So it's looking quite good. I'm intrigued. I am intrigued to see that. And then the other title, get rid of that intrigued me. So there's Tour de France, Gangs of Sherwood, is a solo or co-op with 4 players. War Hospital, a story-driven management game. Ad Infinitum, the mind of a young man trapped between 2 worlds. Okay. The Isle of Man, TT. Now this, I wouldn't say I'm a massive Lord of the Rings fan. I don't hate it, but it's not something necessarily I want to rush out and play a Lord of the Rings games. Most of the Lord of the Rings games don't catch my attention, but I played this back, ladies and gentlemen, and this intrigued me. And actually, I'll just take that off there. I'm quite curious about this one. I don't want to go to Harvard Medical School, thank you. And I'll tell you why in a bit. Not only it looks pretty good, the design and everything. Got all your bits and bobs in there, all your tropes, your Lord of the Rings elements. But what intrigues me is this, the gameplay. You play as Gollum in this third person. You control the character, so there's probably sort of puzzles and accessing kind of levels and platforming stuff. No trailer audio, sorry. Anyway, the point is, you play, you control the Gollum character, and that really kind of intrigued me. Look, you can see here, you sort of that a puzzling element, climbing, all the things I sort of like in those third-party type things. Third-party, not third-party. In third-person type adventure games, where you sort of, you do the sort of climbing and puzzling and all the tropes that you get with those, whether it's a sort of Lara Croft or whatever it is. I like those sort of games, and that intrigued me. So there we go. The others are less so. I'm not sure there's a rugby one there. Actually, trailer for that, for the rugby one. Yeah. Anyway, so those are the games from Nacon. RoboCop, Tour de France, Gangs of Sherwood, War Hospital, Ad Infinitum, Rugby 24, Isle of Man, Lord of the Rings Gollum, tiebreak official game of basic tennis game, isn't it? Raven's Watch. There we go. Do you think they'll be on GeForce now? Is that what you're asking, Calm? Who knows? Possibly. If we just looking at the end of the trailer. Oh, it is. It's not at the end, is it? Yeah, so it's on Steam. So it's on Steam there. That one. And then the other one, Gollum. Steam. Epic. Oh, it was at the end. Oh, GeForce Now, yes. Wow, Colin, eagle eyes. Awesome. It's going to be on GeForce Now as well. Early shout out. That's a good one. Opportunity to play it on both platforms. Very interesting. I'll just show you what I'm looking at. Good eyesight there. Look, can you see there? GeForce Now. Yep. Good spot. I just assumed it might. Didn't necessarily spot it. Okay, so there's some sort of game announcements and stuff like that. Well done for those who spotted the GeForce Now reference. Talking of game announcements, or not as the case may be, it appears that Xbox are skipping E3 show floor. So, I mean, it's sort of become a bit of tradition now. They do their own thing. Now, we know they've got a showcase for Starfield on June the 11th, but it looks like they're going to have other stuff. Xbox's latest big branding. So this is thanks to Tom in The Verge, as ever. Thank you, Tom. Xbox is the latest big gaming brand to officially say that it won't be on the E3 show floor, confirming the decision to IGN on Friday. They've announced the June the 11th date for its annual Xbox showcase and a dedicated Starfield show. So there we go. We can't wait to host our Xbox Game Showcase on June the 11th, and we'll share more details later. So there we go. So Xbox won't be on the E3 show floor, but during that period of time, they will be having their own showcase, as we already know about Starfield, plus other games now on June the 11th. So there we go. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes, ladies and gentlemen, as ever, of the old Activision Blizzard. Yeah, they usually run an event next to it, yeah. I don't know if it's their own theatre, but maybe they do. But yeah, effectively, more, you know, like Sony do, and more big companies do now. Nintendo have their own showcase. They can control things better. So, we're going to briefly go through some of the things that Sony have been saying why, the Activision Blizzard deal, Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal shouldn't go through. I know we talk about this each week, but it's getting quite interesting, because at the end, I'm going to be reveal the fundamental real reason from Sony themselves, apparently, why this deal, they don't want the deal to sort of happen. You know, what's the real reason behind it? So, initially, they're saying lots of different things, which is a bit of a giveaway, really, the fact they keep saying lots of different things. Sony suggests to the Competition and Markets Authority that Microsoft could release a buggy version of Call of Duty, it's always about Call of Duty, on PlayStation, which could make gamers lose confidence in PlayStation as a go-to venue. So this is one of the things. Microsoft might release a PlayStation version of Call of Duty. This is in their submission to the Competition and Markets Authority. Microsoft might release a PlayStation version of Call of Duty where bugs and errors emerge only on the game's final level or after later updates. Even if such degradations could be swiftly detected, any remedy would likely to come too late, by which time the gaming community would have lost confidence in PlayStation as a go-to venue to play Call of Duty. Call of Duty, so as Modern Warfare 2 attests, Call of Duty is most often purchased in just the first few weeks of release. If it became known that the game's performance on PlayStation was worse than Xbox, Call of Duty gamers could decide to switch to Xbox for fear of playing their favourite game at a second-class or less competitive venue. Instead of saying, okay, what if Microsoft put out a buggy version to make us look bad? But that's not in their interest, because Xbox want to sell as many Call of Duties as they can. And I mean, sure, you might get a few people jump ship to Xbox, but they know the most sales they're going to get are on PlayStation 5, on PlayStation. So they want it to work on PlayStation because they're going to make loads of sales on it. They'd be cutting off their nose to spite their face to try and make PlayStation look bad, because ultimately it would damage the sales overall, I would argue. So that, that argument I'm not sure holds water. Yes, hypothetically, it's a possibility. But in reality, I don't think that's happening. Then they go on. All right. I should do it in a whiny voice, but it's not very professional, is it? They might release a buggy version. And then they go, Sony tells the UK Competition and Markets Authority, you should force Microsoft Call of Duty sale or veto the $69 billion Activision deal. Yeah? So this is Sony Corp urging the UK's antitrust watchdog to block Microsoft's deal, or get them to sell off Call of Duty. Right? They're so desperate. They're just throwing everything at it. Like, they don't want this deal to go through. Wonder why this is. Why is it? We will get to that answer very, very soon. But it's beginning to sound a bit whiny. Then they say, well, so we know. Microsoft has said, well, we've offered a 10-year deal to Sony, no degradation of quality, day and date. Same with all the updates. They can put it on their cloud service as well, their subscription service. However, a new statement from Sony, again, says that Microsoft are effectively dragging their feet. Redacted versions of the observations filed by Sony and Microsoft on the Competition and Market Authority's remedies notice were made public this week. Information regarding the terms of an offer made by Microsoft to provide future Call of Duty releases on PlayStation was redacted at the request of Microsoft. So Sony is saying the terms of the deal that Microsoft have outlined were published as part of the CMA sort of remedies notice, but it was Microsoft who redacted the sort of pertinent information on there. And what Sony are effectively saying is the reason is because the offer's not a good offer to Sony. And that's why certain information was redacted from the public. Because actually, although Microsoft are saying they've offered the deal, what Sony are saying, yeah, but it's not a good deal for us. We believe the current offer will irreparably harm competition and innovation in the industry. Remember this. We believe their current offer will irreparably harm competition and innovation in the industry. So by that sentence, Sony is saying they think competition is important. They think innovation in the industry is important. Hold on to that fact information, that little kind of nugget of information there from Sony as we progress through this moan fest. Meanwhile, Microsoft are proposing a number of remedies, many of which we're already aware of, such as making the games available to GeForce Now. So that covers cloud gaming, and word in the street, it may not be the only cloud gaming service that gets PC games, Xbox PC games. That's all I'm saying. We know they've offered Call of Duty to Nintendo Switch. So we know they've already made remedies and concessions. Microsoft proposes remedies to appease the UK regulator's concern over Activision acquisition. Microsoft has responded to the remedies. So remember, the UK's Competition and Markets Authority suggested some possible remedies, including selling off Call of Duty, which is what Sony are suggesting. I wonder where the Competition and Markets Authority got that idea. Since they don't appear to really understand the gaming industry, I wonder who's informing them of how the gaming industry works. Who got in there first in terms of informing the UK Competition and Markets Authority on how the gaming industry works? Sony. Xbox platform holder has detailed its own solutions, some of which are built around suggestions it's made throughout the process, as I said. Sony's response to the CMA's proposed remedies has also been released, agreeing with the regulator's suggestions. So Sony are agreeing with the regulator's suggestions. Those suggestions from the regulator are more than likely informed by what Sony told them. So quelle surprise, Sony agreeing with the regulations suggested. Yeah, because you suggested the regulations. Expressing skepticism that Microsoft could reach an agreement that would address all concerns. So it's a 33-page response from Sony. No, from Microsoft. And they object to this idea that some of Activision Blizzard's business and properties be divested, i.e. they get rid of Call of Duty. Microsoft reiterated that this would be inappropriate, and even partial divestment would be highly uncertain and impractical. Far from protecting competition, a divestment would actually have severe adverse effects, because it would prevent Microsoft from achieving its key strategic objective, which is mobile games, challenging Google and Apple. Anyway, so it goes on there. Sony published a 13-page response. And then Sony released this thing about a redacted version of the offer that Microsoft made. So, not only that, Microsoft, they're so desperate to get this deal through, have been running full-page ads. Look, in the Financial Times. So in the sort of financial papers that they know the Competition and Markets Authorities and the governments read, so Financial Times, here, Microsoft placed a full-page ad in two newspapers in the UK, trying to influence the CMA. Call of Duty for 150 million more players. So their argument is, you know, we're making it available on GeForce Now, Sony, Nintendo Switch. The claim refers to Microsoft's commitment to bring blockbuster shooter to Switch, which has 125 million install base. GeForce Now's 25 million users. So they're really going big guns. Okay, great. So that's all the activity around that. But what is the real reason? What's really going on with Sony? Well, for that, we go to our favourite executive vice president and corporate affairs person and chief communications officer of Activision Blizzard, Lulu Cheng Meserve. Lulu Cheng Meserve. Well, that's what I'm calling her. We've featured her before. She's very outspoken, in your face, uses social media effectively, some would argue, to sort of say how it is. She's not afraid to pull the punches. So here she is, Lulu Cheng Messervey. Microsoft offered Sony the dominant console leader. So this is Activision Blizzard. Okay, so obviously it's in their interest for the deal to go through. And she's in, she was in the room when it happened, basically. That's the important thing. Lulu was in the room when it happened. Microsoft offered Sony the dominant console leader for well over a decade with 80% market share, by the way. Yeah. Sony console sales, Xbox console sales. Yeah. I was explaining to somebody this weekend, if Sony and Xbox console sales were about the same, then yeah, sure, the Activision Blizzard deal may give Microsoft a bit of an unfair advantage and be a threat to that status quo, if that's where the console market was, neck and neck. But it's not neck and neck. Sony are significantly further ahead, console sale-wise, than Xbox. So, if anything, if it brings Xbox up closer, they're never going to reach parity with console sales with Sony. But if it brings them closer, surely that means it's more competitive. So I would say it undermines the reason to keep Microsoft down, or keep the status quo, is not to improve competition. And that's the point Lulu's making here. Microsoft offered Sony, the dominant console leader for well over a decade with 80% of the market share. Anyway, Microsoft offered Sony a 10-year agreement on far better terms than Sony would get from us. So remember, she is the Chief Communications Officer of Activision Blizzard. What she's saying is Sony were offered, or have been offered, a better deal than Activision Blizzard, the makers of Call of Duty, would offer Sony if this deal wasn't happening. Yeah? So she's saying that the Microsoft offer to Sony, the Xbox offer to keep Call of Duty on Sony for 10 years with full parity, full updates, all of that, is a better deal than Activision Blizzard would offer them. And Activision Blizzard are the publishers of Call of Duty. We've also offered, so Activision Blizzard have also offered Sony guaranteed long-term access to Call of Duty, but they keep refusing. Why? So then we've got the thing about Sony saying, Microsoft might release a buggy version of it. But if you want to know the reason why, this is a rhetorical question, because Lulu knows the reason why, because she says that Sony told her directly. And do you want to know the reason why, ladies and gentlemen? It's very simple. It's very straightforward. The CEO of Sony Interactive, so the CEO of Sony, answered that question in Brussels, ladies and gentlemen. In his words, "I don't want a new Call of Duty deal," he said, allegedly. She was in the room at the time when it happened. The head of Sony PlayStation, Ryan was his name. "I don't want a new Call of Duty deal. I just want to block your merger." That is the entire raison d'etre of Sony's approach to this. It's not about, preserving competition. Yeah? It's not about protecting players and giving players access to Call of Duty. Yeah? It's not about ensuring the, market authorities around the world kind of encourage and maintain good competitive practices, yeah? It's none of that. They just don't want it to happen because it's a win for Xbox. Fair enough. You don't want I get it. You don't want your competition to suddenly step up a bit. You like the status quo. Person I was talking to at the weekend told me that Sony, as a Japanese company, is a very proud company. And they've made mistakes in the past. This is Sony overall. Sony, entertainment product, Sony manufacturing company, the bigger Sony, the whole big Sony. They've made mistakes before, made some missteps. I mean, not so much PlayStation world, but they're a very proud Japanese company. And they don't like backing down. They don't like the status quo to be changed. They want to maintain that distance between themselves and what they probably still consider, after 20 odd years, this upstart Xbox. Yeah, even after 20 odd years, they probably still consider that position, and they're very proud, as one interpretation. And interestingly enough, Tom Warren asks Lulu, when did he say this? Where's it written down? Yeah, when did he say it? And Lulu, quick as a flash, says he said it on February the 21st. Basically, she's saying, I know, because I was there. Yeah? Yeah. And Adam Nash here, quite interesting as well. This is the danger that Sony has. The part of this strategy that doesn't make sense to me is that both Activision and Microsoft want this deal to go through. So if it doesn't, Sony's made Activision an enemy. And if it does, they've made Microsoft an enemy. So it doesn't bode well for any future. Somebody, Creephead, says here, Sony will regret that when they get hamstrung on future Call of Duty releases. Sony are in a very difficult position. Sony are in a super difficult position because if they accept a deal from Microsoft for Call of Duty for 10 years, they are effectively telling the competition and market authorities around the world, yeah, no, we're fine, go ahead, approve the deal. Yeah, because they're the biggest voice, the biggest sound in the room against the merger. They're the ones telling the market authorities around the world, competition and market authorities around the world, oh, it's not good for competition. You ought to check this out. This is the way the games industry works. Oh, it's not healthy. Or they're the ones informing. They're the biggest voice in terms of informing the competition and markets authorities why this isn't a good deal. Where the real reason is they just don't want it to happen. They don't want the status quo to change. That's it. Simple as far as I can read. So they're in a tricky position because if Microsoft say, look, we're offering it you on good terms, you could put it on the cloud, you could put it on your subscription service, it's preserved for 10 years, all of that, right? Good rates, better than you already have. Yeah? Potentially from Activision Blizzard. If Sony accept that deal, they're effectively signaling the merger to go through. Yeah? It will go through, no question. I mean, it's probably go through anyway, but no question of a doubt. But at the same time, if I was Microsoft and Activision Blizzard, by the sound of it, they're pretty peed off by Sony's actions here. If the deal does go through, other than maybe a few sort of regulations enforced by the Competition and Market Authority to do a deal, maybe. Yeah, look, we'll approve it, but you have to do a deal with Sony. Yeah, maybe that's how it'll go through. But otherwise, like, Sony are in a bad negotiating position. Yeah, if the deal goes through, because they still want Call of Duty on their platform, but they've like really burnt the bridges. I mean, Microsoft will still want the game on the PlayStation platform, but all the concerns and protections that Sony potentially would have by agreeing a deal now might not be there. You know, so Microsoft go, all right, well, we'll give you a 5-year deal now. What are you going to do about it? Sony aren't going to refuse a deal once the deal's gone through, because they've said it brings so much revenue to Sony. So they're, on one hand, they're like, damned if they do, damned if they don't. On one hand, if they accept the deal now, then the merger goes through, and they really don't want that merger to go through. But if they don't accept the deal and the merger goes through, they're in a worse negotiating position for future Call of Duty. They might not get a deal as good as a deal that is effectively being forced on Microsoft to make. Microsoft are having to make concessions and perhaps offering Sony a deal that they wouldn't, as suggested here by Lulu, that Activision Blizzard themselves wouldn't offer Sony. So the best deal that Sony's going to get is the deal that has been offered now, effectively, or between now and April. And if they don't accept that deal, they could get a worse deal should the whole thing go through. So they're in a really difficult position. Let me know your thoughts. Anyway, there we go. That's the breakdown of things, and we'll take a look at what you've been saying in the chat. Yoshida is, in fact, the very person I was talking to this weekend about this deal. Kirk says, it sounds like America corporate leadership prevailing over Japanese to me. Sony America sees Xbox gaining in North America, looks bad back in Japan. Maybe. My observation is that Sony just want to forget all the we encourage competition. We think competition is good, and that this deal won't encourage competition. No, that's all BS. Reading through the lines and the actions of the various parties involved, it strikes me that all Sony want to do is maintain the status quo. They want to maintain their position. This Activision Blizzard deal going through is not going to suddenly catapult Xbox in terms of sales, bearing in mind, in order to get that number of sales of Xboxes, yeah, where do Xbox have to make the sales? Where's the growth market globally for Xbox? Where's the one market where they're quite weak, especially compared to PlayStation? Japan. Do you think the fact that Activision Blizzard deal goes through is going to suddenly dramatically increase the number of Xbox sales in Japan, the one major growth area globally for Xbox? No. It might have some impact, but is the impact going to be enough to take Xbox from here to parity? And if it does bring parity, then you've got real competition in the marketplace, without a shadow of a doubt. When Sony have to up their game, yeah? Sony have to do something, which is good for the consumer. When you've got two Goliaths punching it out, you know, in this global capitalized world that we live in, that's a good thing. Yeah, because consumers then do benefit in the long run. But my reading of the situation is that, one, Sony just want to maintain the status quo. They don't want, their competition to have gain any advantage, however big or small. They do no advantage. Fair enough, that's business. You don't want, you don't want your competition to, get a win. It's like football, isn't it? You don't want your arch enemies to win, even though it's good for the consumer. So yeah, that's so that's the first thing, and then the second thing is, and I think they're running out of arguments. I think Microsoft are doing their best to sort of demonstrate that they're listening to the Competition and Markets Authority to a degree, and they've offered it to Nintendo Switch. They've offered it to GeForce Now and potentially other, cloud companies and stuff like that. They're demonstrating a willingness to make some concessions, to negotiate with the competition and market authorities around the world to get the deal done. And so many of the arguments that Sony seem to have spoon-fed, especially the UK Markets Authority, in my opinion, seem to have spoon-fed, many of those arguments are slowly being taken apart by Microsoft. It's going to impact the cloud gaming industry. Okay, well, we'll make all our Xbox PC games and Activision Blizzard games available on GeForce Now. There you go. Poof. Yeah. Oh, well, they could keep Call of Duty on their platform. All right, well, we'll offer it to PlayStation and Nintendo while we're at it. And as I said, GeForce Now. Yeah. Boom. They're running out. Sony are running out of real justification. They're trying to find reasons. And I understand it. I get it. I understand it. That's business, yeah? But they're beginning to look a bit whiny, in my opinion, yeah? A little bit whiny. And now Lulu Cheng Mesave, as I've said, has come out and said, yeah, Sony told us in the meeting room, I just don't want the deal to go through. I just want to block the merger. That's all I'm interested in. Not interested in a deal. No, not listening. Just don't want it to happen. That's the way she's painting Sony. There we go. Let's see what you guys have been saying in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Run over. Remember to hit the likes, everybody. The new remake is in its early stages. A new remake. Oh my God. Just leave it. Leave it. It's such a good version. Interestingly, so Paul Verhoeven, Dutch director who made it, wasn't that, he didn't really care that much about it. So he just thought, I'll have fun making it. I'll just have fun. I'll just push the boundaries a bit and we'll just have fun making it. And what he ended up doing is making it very efficient in terms of its storytelling. Yeah, it doesn't waste much of a beat. This is RoboCop. It doesn't waste a beat. It gets on, tells the story, introduces really good economic. It's quite a short film. Really good economic filmmaking, in your face. It's like he said, oh, I'm just going to make, he's literally saw, I'm making a B movie. It's a pulp B movie. But the thing about pulp B movies are if they're made well, they're really great. And RoboCop, I would argue, it falls into that category. A B movie made really great because he just, he just thought, oh, it's a B movie, a pulp movie. I'm going to make it like a pulp movie. And just brought all his sort of Northern European dark sense of humor to it. So there we go. Dread. Oh yeah, was that a Sylvester Stallone one or the other one with the woman that's the woman from Game of Thrones in it. Gollum had a GeForce Now official release. Yes, it was at the end. Yes, we do. In fact, look at these eagle eyes, all of you. Xbox wouldn't release a bad version. They'd want some of that PlayStation money. As far as Nintendo, they hold, would be perfect for Game Pass. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, Com. You don't, 80% of the console market. So you don't want to be undermining the sales of Call of Duty by putting out a buggy version. It doesn't make any sense. I think Sony's argument is weak there, Absolutely. Lovely Yoshida. Jane. Konbanwa. Could explain why so many JRPG on Game Pass. Well, there is a conscious effort, obviously, to break, to establish, to give Xbox credibility in Japan. And absolutely, people, they know globally JRPGs are popular. But yeah, fundamentally, the reason is that there's science to why they're putting Japanese games on Xbox, doing deals with Japanese publishers. Because they want to get credibility in the Japanese market for Xbox. Because Sony has so much credibility there. Yeah. I had read that, Kirk. I mean, if the deal goes through, then if Sony want to really, maintain the status quo, then they need to step up. And I know they bought Bungie, but they need to buy someone. Yeah. And let Microsoft come up with arguments why they shouldn't buy Take-Two, or, they might keep GTA exclusive to PlayStation. I mean, if anything, if it's PlayStation are less dependent on it in terms of titles. Yeah. So let's imagine Xbox has Call of Duty. They are dependent on sales on PlayStation. But PlayStation, having 80% of the console market share compared to Xbox, according to Lulu Cheng, are not dependent on sales of, their game. They could take GTA and make it exclusive to PlayStation, and that potentially would benefit sales of PlayStation enough to because enough to justify not releasing on Xbox, because Xbox don't have many as big as Xbox doesn't have the same number of sort of console sales. But the other way around, absolutely, Xbox needs sales on Call of Duty on Sony. Yeah. You have 20 seconds to comply. I love that whole Ed sequence. That's really, that underlines the kind of humor of it. Yeah. Oh, the Carl Urban one. Yeah, it is that's the one I was thinking of. And the villain in it, the gangster woman, she is, what's her name? What's her name in Game of Thrones? Not Cersei. Anyway, the horrible woman in Game of Thrones. Right. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Bong. It's 11 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really, really appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts anyway in the chat or in the comments afterwards. And if you're playing it, on catch up, if you're watching on catch up, hey, let me know your thoughts on any of the things that we've discussed today in the comments, because it shows interaction with the video, and YouTube love that. And I'd love to get this show out there a bit more and watched by more people. I mean, it's, don't you agree? Good content, fun content, informative, inform, educate, entertain. That's what we're all about, ladies and gentlemen. And hopefully we achieve that. That's what I try to do each week. And I appreciate you being part of this each week and turning up and joining in the chat, listening to me rant and rave and whatnot and all of that. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful, wonderful gaming week. And if you join me on GeForce Now, let me know if you have a chance to play Call of the Sea. We're going to be talking about that in our video book club thing on Thursday, on the GeForce Now Thursday chat. But other than that, Cersei, that's it. Thank you. It's bugging me. That's what I was thinking. Chelsea? It's not Chelsea. It's Cersei. Cersei. Yeah, that's the one. Anyway, have a wonderful, wonderful gaming week. Thank you for being here. I really, really appreciate it. Au revoir. Sayonara.